Mark Rogers TV with you on the Heisman Trophy, awarded each year in college football to the best player in the nation, or more accurately, the best quarterback in the nation, and occasionally the best running back, and once in a great while, the best wide receiver. That's been a long time. Or how about basically never awarded to the best player in college football who's not Charles Woodson? All right, Lamar Jackson wins it tonight. The Louisville quarterback who burst onto the scene late last season, about midway through the season, played really well down the stretch in 2015 and set himself up for 2016. And once he exploded against Florida State, because absolutely nobody really stepped up in a big game after that was in a prime position to challenge him, he has coasted home. And I don't have a huge issue, but he would not have been my selection. So let's understand again. This is the best quarterback, most likely. A wide receiver has a chance, a running back has a better chance. That's basically what it comes down to. If God could come down and tell us who the best player is in the NFL or in college football, he would sometimes tell you that left tackle is the best player in college football. That linebacker, best player in college. That cornerback, best player. But they don't have enough stats. They don't show up in the highlights enough. So it goes to the best quarterback. So, based on the criteria at hand, which is kind of a combination of best player and best impact player, best quarterback for a winning team. You got to play for a winning team. Do you have to play for a national championship contender? Well, that helps. That helps significantly if you go year to year. Most of the Heisman Trophy winners were contending for a national championship, which Lamar Jackson was until the Houston game. And really, if there's outstanding performance in big games, that certainly helps. And definitely if you make highlight plays, and Lamar Jackson is all about making highlight plays and accumulating because of his great talent, dynamic playmaking ability as both a passer and runner, going to rack up huge stats, meaning 51 total touchdowns this year and almost 5,000 yards total offense. All right. So Lamar Jackson this season, 58% passing, 8.9 yards per attempt. That's better than Deshaun Watson. Okay, I'm throwing out Jabril Peppers. He's not the best player in the country. He's the most dynamic and diverse in certain situations, but he won Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year and should not have won that, and he was not really a factor offensively. D.D. Westbrook is an excellent receiver. I give him a lot of credit for piling up the numbers that he did with not really a true number two threat to take the pressure off him. But it comes down, for me, to Jackson, Deshaun, and Mayfield. All right, 58%, almost 9 yards per attempt, 30 touchdowns, 9 picks. The mind-blowing statistic here is 1,500 yards rushing, 6.6 per attempt, and they need to throw out the sack yardage. We don't do that, so Lamar Jackson ran for almost 2,000 yards, 21 touchdowns. Deshaun Watson ran less this year, 529 yards, 6 touchdowns. Not as much of a threat, but certainly did it in the big games, and that's what we'll get to. 68%, 8 yards per attempt. Baker Mayfield, 71% passing, 11 yards plus per attempt is outstanding, and ran for 6 touchdowns, threw for 36 against 8 picks. Okay, against the big teams, the elite defenses, or the strong defenses at least, in the big games. Lamar Jackson exploded against Florida State, and that's what won him the Heisman. 216 yards passing, 146 rushing, 5 touchdowns. That got him in position. Against Clemson, despite a loss, it wasn't blamed on him and should not have been. 36 points on the board, 295 passing, 162 rushing, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Against Houston and Kentucky, last 2 games of the season, something that could have made it extremely close or lost him the Heisman, 20 for 43, and 3 interceptions against Houston, 3 interceptions against Kentucky. Okay, so the issue for me here is you could say, well, his offensive line didn't help him, the rest of the offense didn't help him, the defense was really good. But you know what? Kentucky's not a good defense, and those same offensive players helped him accumulate those 51 touchdowns and 5,000 yards. Deshaun Watson played better in big games and played against more big defenses. Auburn, good game, not great game in getting 19 points. Against Louisville, 306 passing, 91 rushing, 5 touchdowns. He did throw 3 picks, and that's the one knock against Deshaun Watson. 15 interceptions against the 37 touchdowns. Against NC State, they should have lost, but they didn't. He threw it 52 times, 3 touchdowns. Against Florida State, he came up big at 378 passing. He did throw the 2 interceptions against the 2 touchdowns. And in the ACC championship game, the game that Clemson needed, obviously, to get to the college football playoff. And this is why these guys are playing, right? To play for championships. So he won the ACC championship in one game, and he got his team in position to win the national title. 288, 5 touchdowns, and that's key. Baker Mayfield, down game against Ohio State, but was running for his life, and the elite secondary of Ohio State clamped his receivers down. He did have a nice game against Houston in week 1, 323 passing, no interceptions, 2 touchdowns, and had huge games in the Big 12 against porous defenses. TCU, Texas, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, where the closer games that he had to pull out, the 7 touchdown passes against Texas Tech, the best defenses he faced probably in the Big 12, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, and Houston, Jekyll and Hyde on defense this year. Sometimes they look elite with Ed Oliver and company, other times not. I give it to Deshaun Watson. He played against 10 Power 5 bowl teams, and Lamar Jackson played against 6 Power 5 teams, and he had to play against Auburn. He had an exceptional game against Florida State, even though Jackson had the mind-blowing game against Florida State. I go Deshaun Watson based on the criteria that's unwritten in this one. Best player, meaningful games, deciding a championship. Deshaun Watson for the Heisman. I have no real issue with Lamar Jackson. Exceptional talent. Need to hear from you now on Mark Rogers TV.